Because here we fucking go. Pardon my
Here we
French.
fucking
Welcome
go.
back to the Talking Average Fitness Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sam Burns, and I am fired up, and I'm on a damn soapbox. And along for the ride is my good friend, Mr. Kevin McCarthy. Kevin, how are you today, sir?
More than willing to join you on said soapbox.
Oh,
More than
so
willing to join you on said
I,
soapbox.
so we were obviously talking. This is one of those situations where we're talking before the podcast, and Kevin goes, "Go hit it," and so we did that.
Just
So
don't lose the steam.
So I try to temper this a little bit with like professional, I don't know, something professionalism, let's say, where
Professional.
it's like, as a person who works with human beings, right?
Mm-hmm.
The most profound thing about what we do is that it's not that people get fitter, right? Like that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And people reap tremendous benefits from getting fitter. They live longer, they have richer lives, and then it goes beyond the physical. They improve relationships with their family members and their friends and their community. They're more active and contributing human beings, right? But the power of fitness and CrossFit and the affiliate model and all of those things is not that you get fitter or you increase work capacity across broad time modal domains. It's that you change human behavior.
Yep.
Like, it's every person who walks in more than once is proof positive that people can change. And not like, there's that old saying of like, nobody ever really changes. Well, like, it's a fundamental shift if you choose to keep spending your time doing something like that over and over and over and over and over again, right?
Yep.
The hardest part about that is dealing with the people, because
because people be people in.
Well, because people be people in it. It's not. It's like, so this is how awesome that changes. The reason it's so important is because it's like we're hardwired to not do any of that ever. And so when you get a person and you're like, oh look, they're doing it, and like they're there more than once, like you want to like jump for joy because they proved you right. And then I keep thinking of Greg Glassman, who he was talking, this is years ago, I can't remember who he was talking to, but he's talking about what happens inside of a box. And he says, what we're doing is we're doing metabolic rehab, and our rates of success will be just slightly higher than other forms of rehab. And like, if you've never been to rehab or you've never known anyone who's in the recovery community, that's not super high. Like, the rate of people who die or succumb to substance use disorder is much higher than those who get sober. And it's awful. And it's a terrible thing. And so when you hear a guy like Glassman be like, the rates of success will be just slightly higher than that, and that's a discouraging thing. And so every single person who walks into a gym and does it more than once is already a miracle.
Yep.
And I want to beat over the skull every single person who is not doing that with a heavy book. Like,
a blunt object of some sort.
And like, I don't want to like seriously injure them, but I want them to get a good clock across the noggin. And like, maybe we can do some cognitive reset or something like that.
Yeah, maybe find the reset button.
Yes.
Get smacked upside the head hard enough.
Well, and so this is at the heart of this is like I came into the gym at 31 and or something, some stupid age, 32. It was 2017. So whenever that was that 6 years ago?
I
was 32, 33.
7 years ago.
Yeah. So I was
2024 now, homie.
Oh my God. Oh God. I'm old.
Yeah.
I was not 33.
Okay.
Yeah, I was not 33. And so I was in my 30s when I came into the gym, and I had never done anything physical prior to that. And I experienced a life-changing like interaction. I am not special. Like, there's nothing special about me in that, like, is like, oh, well, you're obviously going to get it. And, someone else is obviously not going to get it. And I want everyone to get it. I want everyone to get it. I want everyone to change their life. And another thing Glassman said is like, you will have a significant percentage of the population who is committed to their own downfall.
Yeah.
And I like, yeah. And I want to say he's wrong, but then all I have to do is look into the recovery community.
Yeah.
And like, and anyone who works in trying to help or volunteer in that, you see that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's not because sometimes it's just because people are sick. People are sick, they make bad choices, but sorry, go.
No, it's okay. It's like when Glassman says that some people are just so committed to their own downfall that he's not wrong. And I know people, I'm sure you know people, I'm sure whoever is listening to the tens of people that listen to this podcast know somebody who would much rather be a martyr than actually make change. And they would much rather tell people about how much they're suffering, how hard their life is, how miserable things are, all that fun stuff. And they would rather do that, oh, woe is me, than do what is harder, which is commit to making a massive change. And not only like commit to making a massive change, but like, as soon as you put it out there, it becomes real, right? So like what?
It's not just that as soon as you put it out there, it becomes real. It's as soon as you put it out there, I think for so many people, and I include myself in this,
yep,
there's two kinds of fear that follow along with that. Like,
oh yeah,
one is I said it and I failed. Case in point, my level 4. I put it out there that I'm going to go for this thing.
Yep,
I'm going to do it. I'm going to prepare.
Yep.
Dude, I failed hard. And I finally got the feedback from Nicole Christensen. And yes, I got the feedback. And it's like, I'm a guy who spent a lot of time coaching, and reading that is hard. It's really hard to read that.
Yeah.
And
good feedback though. Like, I mean, like useful, something that you can.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely useful. I mean, I mean, you're talking about people who are some of the best in the world. They might be the best in the world at what they do, and not just in terms of coaching, but being able to step outside of the coaching role and observe the coach and the efficacy of the coach and the effect, like on so many levels, and so like to get feedback from those people is for so many a once in a lifetime chance. I'm not worse off for having done that, right?
Right.
But the other kind of fear is what happens if you succeed? Like, what do you do then if you say you're gonna do it and then like you're given the opportunity, and like, oh shit, now I got to do it.
Yeah, not now because I said I was gonna do it, so now I have to do it.
Right?
Now I actually have to follow through with it. Yeah, to have it because then it's not like it's not a wazi, it's a woozy. It's actually has landed, has become concrete. You said you were going to do something, you put it out there. There's the fear of what if I fail, but then as soon as that opportunity presents itself, okay, now you can go do this because now you have to follow through and do it, or go back on your word and come up with, I don't know, 5 bajillion excuses. I stubbed my pinky toe this morning and I couldn't do it.
Right.
So yeah, that's it. I can't remember where I saw this, heard this. I'm probably going to butcher it, but it was a cool thing where it's like to become what we might be or become what we want to be, to get there, we have to let go of what we are.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's also a scary thing. Like, and I'll use me as an example. Something that's scary is like, I'm, diving headfirst into a soccer season again, but like more so than I did last year. Last year, I was like, what if I can balance both CrossFit and soccer and like kind of do both?
Yep.
And then what happens is, you half-ass two things instead of whole-assing one thing.
Thank God,
And
Rob Nergan.
yeah, right.
Yes.
So this year, like, I'm diving straight into it. Like
Yeah.
I'm dropping some unnecessary weight that like for a soccer player is just unneeded, unnecessary, load on muscles and
Joints.
joints and tendons and shit. And like the training is following suit. I'm doing mostly aerobic stuff,
Yep.
like still trying to maintain load on things, but like I haven't done a CrossFit workout in, man, probably like a solid month, 5 weeks. I did like some bike and handstand walk when I went to go visit Horenstein the other week, but like that was it. It wasn't like, very taxing. It was just like bike handstand walk.
Sure.
Or it wasn't like a big like kind of metabolic punch in the teeth, but
Right.
like so it's been mostly aerobic, like lifting wise and stuff that way has been vastly different from what I would normally do. And it's
Yep.
like, but I'm at a point where like I really want to do well and like enjoy playing soccer again and
Mm,
do that whole thing. So I kind of have to let go of Kevin as a CrossFitter and the things that I thought needed to, or what I kind of like identified with myself
yeah.
as a CrossFitter.
Yeah.
And that's hard
Yeah.
because as I see, like it took me a long time to put on the weight necessary to like compete at a decent level in CrossFit
Uh,
and to watch
let's
that
let's
weight.
be clear.
Yeah,
The mass, like the
right. The
muscle,
mass.
right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not like
And
you
like
just like,
I didn't
hey,
just
hey,
get squishy.
hey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't just put all sorts of weight, but to like it took me a long time to put on the muscle mass and
Yeah.
the strength required to compete at a decent level in CrossFit.
Yeah.
And like to watch that go away, to see myself now 7, 8 weeks later
Yeah.
being like 12 pounds lighter than I was competing in CrossFit is like, well, there it all goes. But
Right.
it's like, I don't know. It's hard. It's a mental mind fuck when you're like, I
Yep.
worked so hard for 6 years to put this mass on my frame to be able to do this one thing. And now I'm coming back to this sport that means so much to me and is going to bring so much, joy and fulfillment into my life
Yep.
currently. Like for me to become what I need to be able to be happy and successful and fulfilled in that avenue, I have to let go of what I was. Um,
Yeah.
and that's hard. And that's not just like, again, as Sam said, I'm not special or unique in that.
Yeah.
For someone that's going through the radical life change that comes with getting your nutrition squared away, starting to exercise regularly, whether that looks like as complex as following a lifting program
Yeah.
or as simple as um, like just making sure you go for a walk every day,
Yeah.
like sticking to the routine, the schedule. Like you have to change as a person. Your whole life schedule kind
Right.
of has to change. You used to not work out. Now you're going to work out. You've
Yep.
just added for, for better, but you've just added a stressor into your life.
Yep.
It's going to benefit you. And as me and Sam sit here, anyone that, coaches fitness in the space, like we know it's going to benefit you, which is why Sam wants to take his, decently sized book and whack you upside the head with it.
Yes.
It's like we know it's going to help you, but we also understand like that stuff's hard.
Yes.
But as Sam was saying in our conversation pre-podcast, it's always going to be hard.
Yeah.
It's never not going to be hard. It's never not going to require work. To quote Josh Bridges, the rent is due every day.
Oh, what a great
Um,
quote.
don't take that literally as in like don't take a rest day, but like the rent is due every day type deal. It's not easy. I've
Yeah.
told people this. If it was easy, everyone would do it,
Right.
and it wouldn't. Not that it wouldn't mean anything, but like it wouldn't mean anything if it wasn't challenging.
Yeah.
If you could just look at a chicken breast and be shredded and not have to work out, it's like then it wouldn't mean anything. It wouldn't feel the way it feels when you make that progress or hit X milestone. I don't want to say like
Yes.
finish, because I don't think we're ever finished as projects as human beings. That's a deep rabbit hole you could get down,
That
but
is extensive.
that is very extensive. I don't think we have time for that today.
Mm.
But it's like as you continue to progress and hit those milestones and make the progress and reach those goals that you set for yourself, um, you know, it's always going to be challenging. And that's what makes it mean so much. That's what makes it worthwhile, a worthwhile pursuit. Um, but if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Right. Well, and it's
Friends
not,
do every day.
well, and it's not just that it's a worthwhile pursuit. It's there is a I keep thinking of Thanos, like balanced as
I
all
say
things
perfectly
should
balanced as all
be.
things should
Yeah.
be.
Like it can't always be about how easy can I make my life. It can't
No.
always be about making myself harder because life is hard, right? So like there's a balance of like, like everything that is human history has pushed toward taking life and making it easier. And very often,
Mhm,
like as a byproduct of reproduction, like how do I create something that is easier for my children, right? Like how do,
mhm.
and like that's civilization is wow. Previously this was a pain in the ass, right? So like if we had a bunch of land and then we planted things and then there's the food, like that's a lot
Yeah,
easier, right? Let's do that.
yeah.
Yeah. Um and so like that's a thing. Like we absolutely want to make life easier. But there's a and this is my own opinion. There is a purpose and a value to hardening the individual
Mhm.
beyond simply being able to say, I am a hard individual. And you're right, it's never easy. It's never not hard. And
Nope.
if you're playing up and working at an appropriate level, I mean, you could take this literally in terms of physical capacity or figuratively or metaphorically. Like intensity is always relative. So like
Mhm.
an appropriate intensity is that which is appropriate to you on the day relative to your physiological and psychological tolerances, right? The
Yep.
same thing goes for how hard am I chasing life? How hard am I
Mhm.
chasing my job? How hard am I digging in with my friends and my family? And like all of that is dictated, of course, like by hopefully you've outlined what is important to you. Like this is my hierarchy of needs. And like at the top of my hierarchy sits X, whether it's your family, whether it's your career, whether it's, your relationship with a higher power, it doesn't matter. um, in order to I think if you're actually trying, it's always challenging.
Mhm.
And the moment it's easy, very often that's an indicator that you've become complacent.
Yep.
And, from aerobically, we've talked about cool, just go faster, right? Like if you think something's easy, you're probably not going fast enough. If
Yep.
you're, and I'm experiencing this in business, like right now, nothing feels easy, but I can absolutely imagine a place where it's like, okay, well, the business gets to a point where it's chugging along and churning, and hopefully my coach has the wherewithal to keep me on a path of like, hey, don't fuck off, like you need to go do this stuff, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And like with kids, it's never ending. I
Mhm.
I get comfortable and I figure out a system and figure out what works, and because they're literally never not changing, it works for like a hot second and then not anymore. And now they've got a different framework or a different understanding. And like, I got to adapt again. And that's not a bad thing. Like being able to walk through challenges and being able to understand, oh God. Oh, um, I heard a great quote and it was someone talking about
Yeah.
business. And it was
Mhm.
very often people will get into business opportunities and they will say, like, I'm ready to work hard. I'm ready to
Mhm.
do this thing, blah, blah, blah. And they'll get into it and then they're buried and they want out. They want things to change. And this person was telling a story. It was like they were pledging a fraternity, and
Mhm.
2 weeks in, they had a revolt, and they tried to change how the brothers were pledging them.
Yeah.
And then when later this person was like full blown in the fraternity, they were pledging another class, and the same thing happened. It turns out it happens every pledge class. About 2 weeks
Mhm.
in, a revolt. And so what he ended up saying to those people, and what he has since said to clients and business owners and entrepreneurs, is, of course you knew this was hard. What you didn't know is that hard is this. Hard is what you're
Mm.
experiencing. And you need to reset your definition of hard, because what we define as hard versus
Mhm.
too hard versus too
Right.
easy, right? It's all relative. And
Yeah.
so something's only too hard if it matches my definition of too hard.
Wow. Yeah, because that's a great point because you do have the power to define things
100%.
however you want.
Mhm.
Like it's if you're doing something and you're like, this is hard, then it's hard. But like it's not too hard until you put that label on it type deal, or unless it fits the definition of what you define as too hard.
Right?
So
And because it's
yeah,
your definition, you can change that. And that's in no way
you
to
can.
apply
Yep.
that that's a simple process or an easy
Mm,
process.
nope.
Like, it still doesn't negate the fact that, like, you you wanna go to the CrossFit Games? Everybody knows you gotta work hard.
Yeah.
Very few people know what hard means.
Yeah. I was gonna say I don't think most people understand the concept of how like actually how
They
hard
no
you have to
fucking
work to get.
clue.
No.
They
Um,
can't.
no, because you've never experienced it. You just
Yeah.
like you see it on YouTube and you watch Rich Froning make it look easy, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
not that bad.
Right?
Until you then do it, and until you in 2018 train with James for regionals and
Fuck.
realize, oh no,
Yeah. I made a mistake.
I made a huge mistake. Oh
Yeah. And so,
yeah,
okay, that doesn't mean it's the wrong kind of hard.
no,
That's
no,
the right hard if you wanna go to the
yeah.
CrossFit Games,
If that's what you want to do, if
right?
that's what you, yeah. Um, I also saw something. I don't know if this is relevant, but it just made it pop in my head when you were
Yeah.
like, this is the type of hard to get to the CrossFit Games." Is like the trying to figure out like how the best way to word this is like the higher your ambition,
Uh-huh.
like the less balanced you get to be as a human. So like
Oh,
let me
yeah.
phrase this. I don't think I just made that up. I may have like phrased it differently, but like that's essentially the gist. It's like the higher your ambitions are, the less balanced you get to be as a human. If you
100%.
want to like if you listen to Kobe Bryant talk about how he used to train, like
Yeah.
at the in the peak of his basketball career
Yeah.
and playing in the NBA, he was like, that's not a balanced life. That's
Yeah.
not like that. What he was doing is not what 99.999% of the population would classify as like balanced or fun or whatever. Um, they see the end product. He gets to travel around, he gets to play a sport, he makes all this money, must be wonderful. But then when he broke out like a day in the life, he is like training 4 times a day, like making sure you're eating the right foods in between, like not really going anywhere. Like you, what was it was it might have been the Nutriforce videos series they did with Matt Fraser,
Probably.
um, and he was talking about how like he had one of his best friends had a bachelor party,
Yeah.
and it was just a weekend at a lake house. It wasn't like anything wild, like let's go to Vegas and burn it down for a week. It was just like a weekend lake house. And he was like, I'm in full training mode for the games. I can't come. I'm not coming.
Yeah.
And it's like he missed his one of his best friend's bachelor parties
Yeah.
because he had to train for the games.
You know what?
And it's like that level of commitment. What?
My favorite story from that, finish your sentence and I'll
I say like that level of commitment, like it all looks so shiny and wonderful when you see the end product or like you see what these people get to be able to do.
Yeah.
But then you look at their day to day and it's like, would you like if you asked someone like, would you? Because here's what it come down to. You ask, like if I asked you, Sam, like, hey Sam, are you gonna miss your best friend's bachelor party to work out? The answer
Right.
is probably the answer is probably going to be no. Uh, the answer is probably going to be no. Um, in which case, like this is a harsh thing, but then like, cool, you don't want to be the games champion bad enough. If you've told me that like,
Yeah.
if Sam comes to me and goes, I want to go to the CrossFit Games, sick. Are you willing to go to bed at 9 o'clock at night every night for the next 6 years?
Yeah.
If the answer to that question is no, you don't want it bad enough.
Yeah.
You might want to want it bad enough, but it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
That stuff is so go ahead. You had something. You got
My
all
favorite
fired up.
story from the Nutriforce thing is that when it got
Yeah.
close to the games time, he stopped using knives because
Yeah.
if he cut his hand,
He had Sammy cut his meat for him for
exactly.
dinner. Yeah,
So
because if I cut my hand, I can't train. If I like have the
so going
he
back to
stopped
the
he would stop riding his motorcycle after regionals,
yep,
even though it was like summertime and like that's the prime time to like do a little cruise because he's like,
not worth it.
if I get in an accident, if I exactly not worth it. I'm like, that's nutty. But that's
Well, and to kind of so the Kobe thing, it's not balanced, right? So this is
no.
kind of what we're talking about here, right? So I'm Sam, right?
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
oh no, this one. I'm Sam, right?
Yeah.
I
Yes,
have
you.
a finite amount of energy. I
Yep.
choose to spend my energy a little bit on CrossFit, a little bit on business, a little bit on Instagram, a little bit on cooking, a little bit on my kids, a little bit on this, a little bit on this, right? Whereas
Yep.
Kevin is like, nope, I'm going to do one thing.
Mhm.
You've got a limited number of hours in the day, right?
Mhm.
Now,
Yep.
and the other thing that comes out of this is capable does not equal willing.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
if you tell me, like, I keep thinking of Ben Bergeron, like at the top of the game, everybody's talented. Everybody works
Yeah.
hard. So,
Mhm.
like, first of all, if you're not willing to do that, you don't get to play. Period. Full
Mhm.
stop. Like, never mind that if you're capable or not, you've got to be willing. And you've got to be willing to do this thing.
Yeah.
You've got to be
All in
willing
one
to
bucket.
be unbalanced,
Yeah.
and
And
well,
yeah, I mean,
and
like it's
that's not getting easier for people, especially for like athletes at the amateur level who want to go to the games. Like, you don't really get to be amateur anymore.
mhm. Yeah. Um, and I think it's, well, so that's the kind of bringing it back to the person that Sam wants to hit upside the head with a book.
Yeah.
Um, when it comes to starting a health and fitness pursuit and beginning that journey,
Yeah.
like balance can mean different things. And
Yes.
similar to how you can define hard, too easy,
Mhm.
all that jazz,
Mhm.
you get to define what balance means to you.
Yes.
And so if you're going to start a journey of like for health and fitness and wellness,
Mhm.
your life doesn't get to be balanced in the exact same way that it was. Because
Yeah.
if the balance stays the same as it was, then you're going to stay the same as you were, are.
Yep. Yep.
Words. I've Sam said this multiple times. Like if like nothing changes if nothing changes,
Yeah.
and something has to change. That balance needs to be thrown off.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. And so, like if we take Sam's little picture, his bubble with the equidistant arrows going out, right? Let's say there's 6 arrows going out at equal distance.
Yep.
You've only got finite time and energy.
Yeah.
So if you're going to add a 7th arrow, which is you heading towards your health and fitness goals, either one arrow needs to become a lot shorter,
Or
2
maybe
arrows need to
maybe be
become
gone.
well, right. So yeah.
Yeah.
So like one arrow could be completely gone.
Yep.
One arrow could get infinitely shorter.
Yep.
You could pull equidistantly from the
Yep.
6 arrows to make it match the 7th one.
Yep.
You can pull equidistantly from all those to make the seventh one longer. So like the pursuit towards health and fitness is the big thing, and then everything else shrinks accordingly.
Yes.
You can pull from 2 or 3, like, but that balance has to change to allow you to pursue that.
Yeah.
And it's not just like, speaking from experience and potentially heading into another experience of that realm, because fuck it, why not?
Yeah.
You don't just get to add the seventh arrow
Yeah.
and not shorten from anywhere else. Or I should say, you can add the seventh arrow, make it as long as you fucking want,
Sure.
not change any of the other 6 ones.
See where the wheels come
That
off.
like exactly, just see, like, because it's a where. It's not an if, it's a see when the wheels fall off, because
Yeah.
the wheels will come off at
100%.
some point.
Yes.
And sometimes that's okay to like, hey, I'm gonna like push all the dials to 11, and we're gonna see what happens. We're gonna strap in, see how we go. Me and Lachlan did that one time at the gym. We were like, how many days in a row can we train before one of us gets sick or injured? Let's see what happens. Was it smart? Absolutely not. But it's like, if you are going to do that, you're like, I'm going to put everything into health and fitness, but I'm going to keep everything as it is. Sweet. Like, sweet. I support your ambition. However, me as your coach, maybe, if I'm going to assume your coach, if I'm Sam's coach and Sam's like, I'm going to go full bore into fitness. Sweet, man. How are we going to like sort things out? I don't know. Nothing else is going to change. Cool, man. Like, yeah, sweet. As we check in, we'll keep like, keep some tabs on that. And when I see Sam with like an IV of coffee and bags under his eyes, and just, if this is the 7th time he's been sick in 2 months,
Right.
I'll be like, how we doing? So I don't know, like that balance of like, it has to change. The definition has to change. The way you structure those things and it all fits in has to change. And it's all to like make things, try and optimize them as best they can.
Yeah.
I had a oh man, I can't remember the dude's name on TikTok, but he's an Australian personal trainer, and his content is hysterical.
Oh, is this the guy with the mom who does the deadlifts?
Maybe. Anyways, he put up like a spectrum, right?
Yeah.
Just a straight line. And he was like, on one end was optimal, on the other end was not optimal.
Right.
And so he was like, that's your spectrum. You have like from 0 to 100, essentially.
Yeah.
And so he was like, if we're being completely honest, both ends of the spectrum are dog shit. He was like, if you go fully on the not optimal end,
right,
you're eating like shit, you sleep like shit, you don't exercise, whatever else. He was like, guess what? You're going to feel like shit. You're going to be overweight. You're going to have all these diseases. Life is going to be shitty down there.
Absolutely.
Don't go to that end.
Wouldn't recommend it.
Wouldn't recommend it. And he was like, all the way over here on the optimal end. He was like, he circles it. He goes, also dog shit. He was like, because if you go all the way to this end, he was like, all you eat is chicken and broccoli, and you haven't stayed up past 8 p.m. ever. You haven't gone out to dinner with your friends ever. You train 2 hours a day every day. He was like, sure, you might look like you belong on the cover of Men's Health. Sick, good for you. That version of life also sucks.
Yes.
And he was like, unless that makes you 100% happy, then by all means. But he was like, most of us, we're going to try and optimize things as best we can to fit within your life and what you want and what makes you happy. And he was like, so he's like, if we kind of, as we're creeping up towards optimal, he's like, some people, their cutoff is here. Some people it's here. Some people it's all the way over here. Like, it's a different cutoff point. And he was like, for me, I enjoy cereal. He's a personal trainer. He's like, I enjoy cereal. He's like, I'm not giving that shit up to be 5 pounds lighter and maybe have like an extra row of abs. He's like, not doing that. I like my cereal. I don't want to give it up. It's like, so he's like, I have to be okay with the fact that I'm not going to look like Chris Hemsworth when I take my top off. And that's just kind of like the trade-off with that. And I
Right.
was like, all great points, like
Yeah.
if you're saying like your health and fitness, you're like, hey, I'm gonna be the next Chris Hemsworth, like the next Thor movies, I'm in there. Like that's me. It's like sick, dude. But you're gonna have to like be so far towards that optimal end that nothing else in your life is gonna be
Yeah.
able to like happen. But
Yeah.
then guess what? You'll look like Chris Hemsworth, and that's amazing and a phenomenal accomplishment. But like, does that make you happy?
Now
You
we're
know?
back to what's important.
Exactly. So
Yeah. Full
yeah,
circle.
I'll just put in a nice little bow.
Yeah. I and I and I yes, it's all hard.
Hmm.
Yes, there's a price.
Yep.
There's always a price. There's a price for everything.
Yeah. And depending
Nothing
on how big of a thing you want will determine how much that price is.
100%.
You know?
100%. You take an Elon Musk who's like, take your 10-year goal, try to accomplish it in a year. And in doing so, the upside is you will go further in a year than most people do in a decade.
Yes.
The downside is you will do very little else.
Yes.
And like,
Yep.
if Elon Musk has a why. He wants to change
Mhm.
humanity. Like,
Yep.
he's like, well, it's fucking dumb that humanity doesn't have access to the stars and clean energy and worldwide internet and. Like,
Yeah.
he's insane. And so it works for
Yes.
him.
Yes.
He is not just capable, but willing to
Yeah.
be insane, right?
Yeah. Yeah. As anyone who's accomplished anything absurd is.
Yeah.
Like Kobe Bryant is insane.
Yeah.
Like Michael Jordan is insane.
For sure.
Cristiano Ronaldo is I'm pulling sports people, I don't know why, but like insane.
Yeah.
Because there has to be a little sprinkle. You do like a little salt bay on that
Yeah.
bitch, a
Right.
little sprinkle of insanity to be like not only like amazing at what you do or what you're trying to accomplish, but to be the best
Yeah.
in the world at what you do and are trying to accomplish. Takes
Yeah.
that little sprinkle of insanity.
Yeah.
A
It's,
1000%.
and so that being, now that's the extreme end, obviously, right?
Yes.
It doesn't always have to be like that, but nothing's ever free. Nothing's without cost. And so you can go into it knowledgeably. And like, if you're going to go into a health and fitness journey, like,
Hmm.
this is where a coach can be helpful because they can temper expectations, right? And help you navigate shifting habits and,
Hmm.
you know, being okay when you beat yourself up about not doing something because you made a choice to prioritize something else. Like, that's the baggage that we carry with these habits and these decisions and the expectations that we wrestle with, which, by the way, all that shit's up here. Like, I create for myself expectations about what I want other people to think about me when they
Hmm.
watch me do things, or I'm afraid of what other people will think about me or not think about me because I want them to think a certain thing about me because I do something or don't do something or whatever. Like, all that shit's created. And
Yep.
the baggage that we carry in is oftentimes so much harder to deal with than the actual work.
Yep.
And so, if I'm going to put a bow on this, right? Like,
Hmm.
the people who are able to make fitness a part of their life are not special. There's nothing special about them, like, not inherently. And,
No.
I'll never forget, there's this old timer who got up at the podium at an AA meeting, and he's got this grizzled, gravelly old voice. And he's
Yep.
like, "Are you special? Of course you are. Extra special? Nuh-uh." And it's
Yep.
the truth, And
Yeah.
so, if you know someone who's beginning this journey or they're looking at this journey kind of like sideways, they're like, my son is screaming from the top of the stairs.
Yeah.
Um,
I hear him.
if you know someone who's like fit curious, let's call it, right?
Yeah.
Like, encourage them to keep coming back. And like, we say in recovery, like, don't leave until you get the miracle, right?
Yep.
Like, everybody is entitled to the miracle that is a better life through health and fitness. And so please, for the love of God, don't leave until you get the miracle. But never mistake the fact that like the miracle is that you decided to do something different, truly. You know what I mean? Final thoughts, questions, concerns?
Nah. I mean, I could go all day on this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Do hard things. It makes you better.
Yeah.
It makes you a better human.
It does.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah. This boy. Okay, I gotta go take care of this kid.
Yeah, he's
not happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody, thank you for listening. Come back next week. We'll talk about something different. And in the meantime, be well, enjoy fitness, invite someone else to do fitness, and we'll talk to you later.